Unless you've been living under a rock, you're no doubt aware that Fidel Castro, former dictator of Cuba, died a few weeks back. I didn't want to jump on this in the direct aftermath of his death in the days that followed. Let it disappear as a hot news story, step back, let the various media sources have their say. Yeah. Now, I subscribe to Tele Sur here on the Tube, the Latin American network sponsored by various governments in Central and South America, including Cuba and Venezuela. So, a short video piece of propaganda called Fidel Castro, A Legendary Life was kind of to be expected. It is true to say that standards of healthcare and education do rank highly in Cuba. That's to be commended. So credit has to go to the authorities and the Cuban people there. But let's be real. Castro was a tyrant, an enemy of democracy, an authoritarian Marxist-Leninist despot. Does that mean he was wrong all the time? No, of course not. Many of his criticisms of American imperialist foreign policy were valid. The United States does head a criminal empire. But I don't view Cuba, or any other oppressive country, as a guiding light in the world. Human rights violations are commonplace in Cuba. It has a long history of restricting freedom of expression and assembly, censoring those who speak out against the communist dictatorship. Go to Amnesty International's website, type in Cuba, read the reports, do some research, would be my advice. But anyway, let's read some comments on the aforementioned Telesur video. User called Shu says, "If right-wingers hated him alive, they are going to hate him even more dead, because he is going to be a godlike figure, like most communist leaders become after they die." Yeah, that's not a good thing. Take a look at North Korea. Turning authoritarian scumbags into demigods in death is not a healthy way to go for societies. Okay, Michael A. said, November 25, 2016. Heartless, self-absorbed and hypocritical tyrant, Fidel Castro has passed away. I refuse to rejoice in the wake of the death of any being, even if said being and his followers have so often rejoiced and gloated after inflicting pain and suffering in the lives of other fellow Cubans, like the freedom-loving and noble-minded individuals in my own family. Before they were deplorables, there were, English translation, worms and dregs of society. Worms and dregs of society were only two of a long list of disparaging terms Fidel Castro loved using against those who refused to support his cruel, divisive, and heartless regime. Join me in remembering and praying for those tens of thousands of Cubans who have lost their lives, some figuratively, others literally, due to the actions of a self-centered, egotistical man. And most importantly, join our fight against tyranny. Deplorables, worms, dregs of society, unite. Wow, what a comment. And as I look throughout the comments, it's fairly divided between people leaving very respectful remarks and those saying stuff like good riddance or burn in hell. I understand where Michael A. is coming from when he said about not rejoicing in the wake of the death of a human being, but when I hear this old-fashioned notion, idea, or moral instruction that one should never speak ill of the dead, and a few people in my own family feel this way, when I hear this, I have to question the principle or the foundation on which it rests. Death should not function as a shield for valid criticism. When a tyrant dies, it doesn't mean he's off the hook. No. The people he oppressed should be able to speak out as they see fit. Tell the truth unencumbered by silly, old-fashioned ideas, is what I say. You can make the argument that it's cowardly to wait for a person to die before laying into their memory, privately or publicly, but in and of itself, this doesn't function as an adequate defence of the thou shalt not speak ill of the dead principle. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear what you folks have to say about this, so feel free to use the comments as always. Please rate and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.